Donald Trump just got some very bad news about his January 6th slush fund. As it turns out, there is now a bipartisan plan underway to block the fund completely, which would majorly complicate Trump's grab for the most corrupt move in the history of the American presidency. And no, that is not an understatement. If you want to know all the frightening details of this fund, and if you want to know who has a plan to stop it and how, get comfortable. A storm is brewing. Next, here on The David Reddish Show. Welcome to the show, my beautiful viewers. I'm David Reddish. And as always, please subscribe to our channel right now if you have not. But okay, we have a lot to unpack in this segment, so let's get started. As you may have heard, earlier this week, President Strokey Pants announced a $1.8 billion fund as part of a settlement he'd reached with the IRS. Yes, a president sued his own administration and ended up with a massive settlement. That alone would make this move one of the most brazenly corrupt in American history, but there are buried details here that make the fund even more dangerous. PBS has a breakdown.
In the span of 48 hours, the U.S. government, acting on orders from the Trump Justice Department, did something no administration in American history has ever done before. It created a nearly $1.8 billion fund, drawn from taxpayer money, designed to compensate allies of the president who claim they were mistreated by the Biden Justice Department. Then the administration permanently banned the IRS from ever examining President Trump's prior tax returns, or those of his sons, his company, or any affiliated trust. That move was quietly announced a day later, tucked into a DOJ press release. And there is a third development. New federal ethics disclosures reveal more than 3,700 stock trades made under President Trump's name, and companies like Meta, Amazon, and Disney, among others, worth up to around $750 million in just the first 3 months of this year.
Well, assuming you haven't chewed through your own jaw after watching that, don't start just yet. There is good news coming, so stick around. Even among Republicans, the announcement of this fund, which amounts to a slush fund for Trump's friends and allies, not to mention a block on investigating Trump's business and tax dealings in perpetuity. This announcement has rankled members of Congress on both sides of the aisle.
Are we looking at a GOP revolt brewing over Trump's anti-weaponization fund?
I will tell you my first reaction was this doesn't pass the smell test.
It sends a signal, hey, go breach the Capitol, destroy the building, assault police officers, and you may even get compensated for someday. That's absurd.
Every policy issue that I look at it through the lens of what impact is this going to have on affordability.
And you think this weaponization fund is a waste of taxpayer dollars?
I think that would be putting it mildly.
So, Democrats and Republicans in Congress feel this fund is too far a reach, which, given some of the other grifter moves by Trump, that really says something. There is rare bipartisan agreement on this point, and now it looks like Congress is finally waking up and turning on the Strokey groper-in-chief. Check this out. This morning, Politico reports that a bipartisan effort led by Representatives Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania and Tom Suozzi of New York to block creation of the Trump slush fund is now underway in the Congress. The pair have already drafted legislation which is expected to be revealed at some point later today. Even better, House Speaker Mike Hasno Johnson also hinted that he is uncomfortable with the fund and therefore may allow the legislation to come to a vote. Still, even if he doesn't, Fitzpatrick has been involved in multiple efforts this Congress to use discharge petitions to pass bipartisan bills over the objections of Johnson, meaning that even if Johnson objects, the House could force his hand and make the legislation come up for a vote. But wait, there's more. In the report we just mentioned, Brian Fitzpatrick hinted that he was waiting until after a meeting between Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and key GOP senators to reveal the legislation. Just minutes ago, we learned that meeting concluded, and apparently, it did not go well. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, who is engaged in a very hard-fought re-election campaign, revealed she still opposed the fund, while Bill Cassidy of Louisiana and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska both refused to comment. Complicating all of this is an attempt to add language to an existing immigration enforcement bill that would block creation of the fund, a bill that leadership hoped to fast-track this week. Congress is also on the brink of recess, meaning that if the bill doesn't come to a vote by tomorrow, it could stall completely. So there's a lot going on, right? It still isn't clear at the time of this report if the Senate will add the anti-slush fund language to the immigration bill, or at the very least, language to restrict the fund and its implications. But given that so many members of Congress on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers oppose this fund, or are publicly saying they're deeply uncomfortable with it, there will be enormous pressure to pass some kind of legislation to block it, as there should be. This fund is nothing more than a bribe to Trump's civilian goons, the same people who trashed the Capitol and tried to kill then Vice President Mike Pence on January 6th. Furthermore, the restrictions it places on transparency of Trump's business and tax records, as well as the extended immunity it grants to his family, who are not government employees, mind you, is absurd. So my message to Republicans, and to all you beautiful viewers, you know this fund is wrong. You know Trump is grifting. You know he's engaging in illegal activities for his own financial gain, as are his children. You know that the onus will extend to every member of Congress who does not try to rein in this corruption. So what are you going to do about it? Call your representatives and tell them to block creation of this fund, and as always, vote. The future of our country is on the line. This is The David Reddish Show.